Hello everyone, this is Dr. Archana Jain. In the last class, we have discussed about the theories of corrosion. Okay, so there are two theories proposed to explain the corrosion, that is dry or chemical corrosion and wet or electrochemical corrosion. Okay, so we have discussed in detail about the mechanism of both type of corrosions. Okay, in today's class we are going to discuss about the different types of electrochemical corrosion. Okay, so in this session we are going to discuss about the three types of electrochemical corrosion. First is galvanic corrosion. Second is waterline corrosion. And third is pitting corrosion. All these three corrosions are electrochemical corrosion. This type of corrosion takes place in the presence of moisture or any other electrolyte due to the formation of electrochemical cells. Okay, so now let's have a look each of them. What is the galvanic corrosion? This type of corrosion occurs when two dissimilar metals are in contact with each other in the presence of moisture or any electrolyte. Okay, so this type of corrosion occurs when two dissimilar metals are in contact with each other in the presence of moisture or any other electrolyte. So in this case, when two dissimilar metals are in contact and exposed to any electrolyte or moisture, then they form galvanic cell. Okay, so this type galvanic corrosion actually takes place due to the formation of galvanic cell. All right. So in this case, the metal having lower standard reduction potential anode acts as anode and undergoes corrosion. And the other metal, the metal having higher standard reduction potential acts as cathode and remains protected. Nothing happens to that metal. It is protected from corrosion. Okay. So now such type of two metals when are in contact with each other and they are exposed to the any electrolyte or moisture, then they form the galvanic cell and undergoes galvanic corrosion. Okay, so let's take the example of zinc iron metal couple. Okay, When these two metals, zinc metal and iron metal, are in contact of each other and they are exposed to moisture, then what will happen? As you know, that standard reduction potential of zinc metal electrode, zinc metal is 0 minus 0.76 volt, and for iron it is standard reduction potential is minus 0.44 volt. So in this case, the zinc metal act as anode and undergoes corrosion. Okay, and in this zinc metal, it means, what does it mean? That zinc metal get corroded in this case when it is in contact with the iron metal. And here iron metal act as cathode. Okay, and it gets protected, nothing happens to iron metal. All right, so what type of reaction we can write here? At anode, we know that oxidation of metal takes place. So in this case, zinc metal get oxidized, Zn2 plus ions, and electrons are released, and these electrons flow from zinc metal to iron metal there at anode, which act as an cathode. In this case, these electrons are taken by the oxygen gas, right? As you know that cathodic reactions or reduction reaction depends on the nature of the medium. If this medium is neutral, suppose moisture, we have taken here water, it is neutral in nature. In that case, the oxygen present in the water accept these electrons, okay, and reduce to hydroxide ions, right? So this type of reduction reaction takes place here. All right, and overall cell reaction we can write zinc plus half O2 plus moisture, and it forms zinc hydroxide. Okay, so you can see here zinc metal is dissolving into the moisture, that acting as a electrolytic medium here. Okay, so when these type of two metals, these similar metals are in contact, they undergo galvanic corrosion. All right, so now you can take another example also of iron and copper metal. Okay, so in this case, you know, the standard reduction potential of iron we have already written, minus 0.44 volt, and copper's 2 plus. Copper, the standard reduction potential of copper metal is plus 0.34 volt. Fe2 plus iron is minus 0.44 volt. So in this case, iron metal will act as anode and copper metal will act as cathode. So in this case, it acts as anode and undergoes corrosion. It get corroded here, iron metal, and copper metal act as cathode, and it is remain protected. Nothing happened to in this case. Okay, so I hope it is clear what does it mean of the galvanic corrosion, right? But you know, so we can say here, so we are taking that on the basis of the position of metals in the electrochemical series, we can predict their corrosion tendency, right? So we have seen already here two examples. Zinc metal is placed above the iron, so zinc metal has the more tendency to get corroded, and iron is placed above the copper, so iron has more tendency to undergo corrosion than copper metal, right? But this is not true for all the metals. For example, let's take one more couple here. So let me give you here some example metal combinations. Okay, so according to the EMF series, electrochemical series, which metal will act as anode, which metal will act as cathode, we will write here. Suppose we have this copper 2 plus zinc 2 plus metal couple. So on the basis of electrochemical series, we know that zinc metal will act as anode and copper metal will act as cathode, right? Now let's another couple, nickel and lead. Okay, so in this case, nickel will act as anode and lead metal act as cathode. Okay, then another, we have already taken this iron and zinc, right? Zinc act as anode and iron is cathode. Okay, so one more, let me take here Sn2 plus and Fe2 plus. Okay, so in this case, iron is act as anode and tin. So which metal will act as anode or cathode, we decide on the basis of their position in electrochemical series, right? On the basis of their position in the electrochemical EMF series, right? So now let's take one more example. Similarly, here we have zinc 2 plus and aluminum 3 plus. As you know, in the electrochemical series, the zinc metal is placed, sorry, aluminum metal is placed above the zinc metal. So it means aluminum should, has to act as anode. Okay, so but it is found that, actually it is found that aluminum get corroded and zinc is protected. Okay, and another example, similarly we have silver plus titanium 2 plus. Okay, so in this case, the silver metal is placed above titanium, but still titanium metal get corroded and silver is protected. Okay, sorry, in this case silver is placed above the titanium metal, but still titanium metal act as anode and silver act as cathode. Okay, so why it is happens like that, we will see here. So now in this class, first have the look at this couple, zinc aluminum couple. Okay, for these examples it was normal, whatever the place they have according to their standard reduction potential, we identified that which metal will act as anode, which metal will act as cathode when they are in contact. Okay, but there is something different in the case of these two metal couples. So in the case of zinc aluminum couple, we know that aluminum metal has low standard reduction potential in comparison to zinc. Okay, so it means it should act as anode, but in actual aluminum get, but in actual zinc undergoes corrosion. Zinc act as anode when it is coupled with aluminum metal, but in actual zinc undergoes corrosion when it is coupled with aluminum. Okay, so here aluminum has low reduction standard reduction potential, so it should act as anode, but in actual zinc metal act as anode and undergoes corrosion when it is coupled with aluminum. This is because, now let's another example also we have taken here. Let me write first about that also. What is there? Silver and titanium couple. In this case, titanium has the standard reduction potential of titanium metal is lower than the standard reduction potential of silver metal. But it means so according to the rules of electrochemical series, then it must act as anode, right? It has to act as anode, but and undergo corrosion. But in actual silver undergoes corrosion, so it has to act as anode and undergo corrosion. But in actual silver metal undergoes corrosion when it is coupled with titanium. Titanium metal. Okay. So now question is why these metal are exhibiting this kind of behavior differently from other metals. This is because that zinc, sorry, aluminum and titanium metals. Titanium forms a passive and protective film, protective thin oxide film, which is non-porous, which is non-porous and strongly adherent to the inner metal surface. Inner metal and surface and prevents corrosion. Inner metal surface and prevents corrosion. So now I hope clear then why aluminum and titanium doesn't undergo corrosion when they are coupled with the metals which have the lower standard reduction potential. Okay. So now in this case you can see that these aluminum titanium metals form a oxide film which is non-porous and act as protecting coating and prevent the further corrosion. Okay. So you can see here that electrochemical series is actually is not able to identify the corrosion nature of all the metals in proper way. So because of this reason, a new series was developed that is called galvanic series. All right. So what is this galvanic series? A new series in order to identify the actual corrosive nature of the metals, a new series created called galvanic series, in which the metals And this series not only metals but also alloys were also included, okay, created in which metals as well as alloys are arranged in increasing or decreasing order of order based on their corrosive nature. Okay, so a new series was created that is called galvanic series. So this galvanic series actually tells the actual corrosive nature of the metals. So electrochemical series could not explain the high corrosive nature of the zinc and silver metal in comparison when they are coupled with the aluminum and titanium metal respectively. Okay, so in this case, so in such cases, to explain the corrosive nature of all the metals and alloys, a new series was created that is called galvanic series, right? In this series not only metals but alloys also included. All right, so here we will take some example of, so here I'm going to write of a few metals and alloys in order. All right, there are plenty of metals and alloys are placed in this galvanic series. I am just taking a few example here only. So platinum metal, according to this galvanic series, the platinum metal having the higher, it is the most passive towards the corrosion. Okay, so platinum, gold, titanium, silver, stainless steel. You can see here that we are using alloy, bronze, brass, right? PV tin, solder, tin metal, lead, mild steel, which has less amount of carbon, mild steel, aluminum, zinc, and magnesium. Okay, so in this case, the platinum, so magnesium metal has the highest tendency of corrosion, to get corroded. Okay, so this is the most corrosive metal. It has the lowest reduction potential. Okay, again I am mentioning here that I have written only few examples from the galvanic series, right? So magnesium metal is having the lowest standard reduction potential according to this galvanic series, and platinum is having the highest standard reduction potential. Okay, so here also what we have said here, that aluminum, when the aluminum metal is coupled with the zinc metal, although the standard reduction potential of aluminum is lower than zinc metal, so it in according to the electrochemical series, this metal should act as anode, right? But in reality it is found that zinc metal undergoes corrosion, or you can say it acts as anode when it is coupled with the aluminum. And this happens because the aluminum metal has the tendency to form a very thin oxide film which is non-porous and very adherent to the inner metal surface and act as protective coating. Okay, so that's why because of this reason, the standard reduction potential of aluminum metal increases. Okay, because of the formation of this metal oxide film. And in this case, because of this reason, this aluminum metal act as cathode when it is coupled with the zinc metal. Because of the formation of non-porous and protective metal oxide film, the standard reduction potential of aluminum metal increases and it becomes more than zinc metal. So zinc metal here act as anode and then aluminum metal act as cathode. Okay, so this is all called galvanic series, which tells about the actual nature of the corrosive nature of the metals. Okay, and their corrosive nature is measured by using the common corrosive medium, that is seawater. And in all these uh, determination of the corrosive nature, the calomel electrode was used as the standard electrode. Okay, so this is called galvanic corrosion, sorry, galvanic series, that is used to identify the actual nature of the metals and alloys. Okay, so now let's take some example of galvanic corrosion, right, in our real life. So you can see many examples of galvanic corrosion in our real life also. Okay, so first example you can see, when the mild steel nut is attached with the brass screw, then what happens? The mild steel nut gets corroded. Okay, what I have said, when the so mild steel means it is having the low percentage of carbon. You know, steel is made of the iron and carbon. When there is the low percentage of carbon, then it is called mild steel. Okay, so when mild steel nut is placed with brass screw, then what happens? This mild steel nut get corroded rapidly. Okay, so what I mean, you have a, so let me make this. So you have screw that is made of brass. Okay, so this is screw, brass screw, and the bolt attached with it is made of mild steel. Okay, so we have here nut around it. Nut, and it is made of mild steel, and it get corroded very fast because when here two metals, two dissimilar metals are in contact of each other. So when these two dissimilar metals are exposed to the environment, when they come in contact of moisture or any other electrolytes, then they form galvanic corrosion and undergo corrosion process. So here, you know that already iron base metal of this steel, iron. So here we get the couple of iron metal with the, and brass, the base metal on in brass is copper. So they make the couple of copper and iron metal. Okay, and they, when they are in contact of moisture, they form galvanic cell. Okay, and undergo galvanic corrosion. Because of this reason, here iron metal act as anode and undergo corrosion. So that's why when a brass screw is attached with the nut, mild steel nuts, then nut get corroded very fast. All right. So we should avoid the nut and bolt made of the different metals. We should always prefer the nut and bolts made of the same metal. All right. So here what we can say, second, bolt and nut made of same metal are preferred. Why? This is because in this case, if they are made of same metal, we can avoid galvanic corrosion. Okay. So now another example you can see here. When the mild steel pipe connected to copper plumbing, they undergo corrosion again. So when you have connected mild steel pipes connected to copper plumbing, connected get corroded. Okay, get corrodes easily. Mild steel pipe connected to copper plumbing corrodes easily. So again here, due to the galvanic corrosion, because here also two dissimilar metals are in contact, and also they are exposed to the water. They are in contact, both metals, dissimilar metals are in contact of water, and they form galvanic cell and undergo corrosion process. So here corrosion takes place at the steel pipe. Right? So here iron metal is in contact of copper, and you know that in this case iron metal act as anode and undergo corrosion. That's why the mild steel pipe connected to copper plumbing corrodes easily. Okay. Now, so I think these examples are enough to explain the galvanic corrosion. Now, how can we prevent the galvanic corrosion? Prevention of galvanic corrosion. Right? So as we have already discussed, the main cause of the galvanic corrosion is that when the two dissimilar metals are in contact and they are exposed to moisture or any other electrolyte. So how can we prevent the galvanic corrosion? By avoiding the direct contact of two dissimilar metals. So first thing we can do to prevent the galvanic corrosion, avoid contact of two dissimilar metals. Okay, but if in any situation it is unavoidable, then in that case how can we prevent galvanic corrosion? If we can't avoid the direct contact of two dissimilar the contact of two dissimilar metals, we can't. Okay, in that case, for unavoidable situation, then what we can do, that anodic area, if we have to keep two different metals in contact, then always remember that anodic metal, the area of the anodic metal should be larger than cathodic metal. Okay, so what does it mean? What I want to say, that anodic area should be larger than the cathodic area. Okay. So what does it mean? You know that at anode, what happens? Oxidation of metal takes place and electrons are released, right? And at cathode, reduction takes place and electrons are consumed. Okay. Now just imagine the area of cathode is large. It has large area. Okay. So it means it will have the high demand for the electrons. If it is the area of the cathode is large, then it will have the high demand for electrons. And in case if the anode area has the small area, suppose in case, then in that case the high demand for electrons of cathode could be satisfied by the small anodic area only if it undergoes very rapid or drastic corrosion, right? The high demand for the electrons by large cathodic area the high demand for electrons by cathodic large area would be satisfied by small anodic area if it undergoes rapid or drastic corrosion. Okay. So in that case, so how can we prevent? So in this case, what, when the anode has a small area and cathode has the large area, in that case the corrosion, the rate of corrosion is very high and corrosion is very rapid. So if we want to prevent the corrosion in that case, then what we have to do, we have to increase the area of anode and decrease the area of cathode. Okay. So in that way also we can prevent the galvanic corrosion. All right. And also by choosing the metals from the by choosing the such metals which are very close to each other in the electrochemical series. Okay. So if we have to put two metals in contact in case, then we have to choose such metals which are very close to each other in the electrochemical series. So there will be less difference in their standard reduction potential and the rate of corrosion will be less in this case. So the two metals, so position of the metals in electrochemical series also matters here. So two metals taken should be as close as possible in the electrochemical series or galvanic series. Okay. So, you know, if there is large difference in the position of the two metals, they are far from each other, it means they have, one of them metal will be having higher anodic in nature, another metal will be higher cathodic in nature. Okay, so we should avoid the metals which are very far from each other in position in electrochemical series. All right. So by using these steps, we can prevent the galvanic corrosion. All right. So now let's go to the second type of corrosion, that is called waterline corrosion. Second is waterline corrosion. This type of corrosion occurs due to the difference in the oxygen concentration. Okay, so let me write, this is actually, this water line corrosion is actually differential aeration corrosion. This is water line corrosion is, it is a differential aeration corrosion that occurs when a metal is exposed to different aeration conditions. In this case, the metal part which is poorly oxygenated acts as anode and undergoes corrosion. Whereas other metal part which is well aerated acts as cathode and is protected. Okay. So this waterline corrosion occurs due to the formation of oxygen concentration cell. So in this case, this waterline corrosion occurs when a iron water tank or pipeline is partially filled with water. Okay, so in that case, what happens? When the water is stored in a steel tank, then corrosion occurs along the line just beneath the water meniscus. Okay, let me draw the diagram here, then I will explain. So here we have taken a water tank which is made of iron. It is filled with the water. So here we have iron metal tank. This is water. So you can see in this case, the water, when water is stored in a steel tank and it is partially filled, okay, in that case, what happens? The area above the water line. So this area above the water line act as cathode. This act as cathode here because this is very well aerated. Okay, the area, the part of the iron metal container which is above the water line act as cathode because it is well aerated. But the other part of the metal tank which is just below the line, water line, is poorly oxygenated. So this is poorly oxygenated and act as anode. And undergoes corrosion. So here corrosion process takes place and along this line this water tank get corroded. So this type of corrosion is called water line corrosion. Okay. I hope it's clear. So in this case, as you can see here, this iron metal just below the water line act as anode, and here oxidation of iron metal takes place, Fe2 plus 2 electron, and at the cathode these electrons are taken by the anode, and here reduction reaction takes place. Half oxygen plus H2O and 2 electrons are taken forming hydroxide ions, and these non-metallic ions and metallic ions, iron metal, move through this medium, water medium, and combine forming this ferrous hydroxide, and then which further oxidize to ferric hydroxide. Okay, so this type of water line corrosion is a serious problem for the ocean going ships. You know, there what the lower part of the ships is in contact of salty water. Okay, so the part of metal which is dipped in the water is poorly oxygenated, right, and act as anode and undergo corrosion. The remaining part of the ship which is well aerated act as cathode. Okay, so because of this water line corrosion, the lower bottom of the ship get corroded easily. So how can we prevent it? By using some paints, anti-fouling paints. Okay, so this type of corrosion can be prevented. I hope it is clear. So what is the water line corrosion? When a iron water tank or pipeline is partially filled the water, in that case, the area of the tank which is just below the water meniscus act as anode because it is poorly oxygenated, and the area of the metal tank which is above the water line act as cathode because it is well aerated and it is protected. Okay, so this type of corrosion is called water line corrosion. All right, now let's take the third type of corrosion, that is called pitting corrosion. Okay, so this type of corrosion is localized attack on the metal and resulting in the formation of pit, hole or cavity. Okay, so this type of corrosion, it is a localized attack on the metal resulting in the formation of pit or hole, or you can say cavity, right? In other words, this type of corrosion is confined to a point or small area. It is confined to a point or small area. If a small part of the metal is affected by this corrosion, but this is very rapid and aggressive type of corrosion. Okay, so let's take an example to understand this. Metal covered by dust, scale, or a drop of water or NaCl solution. Okay, so let's consider a metal surface, iron metal surface, and consider a drop of water. Let's consider a drop of water resting at the surface of iron metal. So this is the drop of water sitting at the resting at the surface of iron metal surface. Okay, so this is the water droplet. All right, so in this case you can see the area under this drop is small and it is poorly oxygenated. So this area is poorly oxygenated and act as anode. So very small area of the metal surface is covered by the water drop, and this small area act as anode because it is poorly oxygenated. And the remaining metal surface act as cathode. And you can see the area of the cathode is much higher than the anodic area. So remaining surface, metal surface act as cathode. Right? So it has very large area and exposed to air. So remaining surface of the metal is exposed to the air and it is well oxygenated. That's why it acts as cathode and it has very large area in comparison to anode. Okay, so already we have discussed when the area of the cathode is larger than anode. In that case, very rapid and drastic corrosion takes place because of the larger area. Cathode has very high demand for the electrons. Okay, and this high demand of electrons by cathodic area can be satisfied if and already we have seen that area of the anode is very small, and it can satisfy the high demand of electrons by cathodic area only when if it undergoes very rapid and drastic corrosion. So because of this reason, the metals get removed, keep removing from the same spot, and as a result it as a result a hole or pit is formed on the surface of the metal. You can see here, right? I hope it is clear. So what we are trying to say here, we have taken the example of a water drop resting on the iron metal surface, okay, and the area underneath the water drop act as anode because it is poorly oxygenated, and the remaining surface of metal act as cathode, which is the well aerated, okay. And in this case, in the given example, the area of cathode is very high in comparison to the anodic area, okay. And because of this reason, the as we have discussed that at cathode reduction reaction takes place, and in this reduction reaction electrons are consumed. So if it has higher area, then there will be high demand for the electrons, and this high demand of electrons will be satisfied if the anode, small area of anode, undergoes rapid and drastic corrosion, okay. And because of this, more and more metal is anodic metal is removed from the same spot, and therefore a small hole or pit is formed on the surface of the metal. This type of corrosion is called pitting corrosion. All right, now we will have a look at the factors affecting the rate of corrosion.